Good morning, Chicago and the rest of the world. Welcome to the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast, season 5, Big Stew, episode number 6.
Unbelievable.
Should you go to church?
Wow.
Great topic today. Can't wait to talk about it. I am your host with the most.
Come on.
The man with the plan.
Yeah, he is.
The Scotty Pippen of podcast pimping.
There he is.
Mr. Eric McLeod, a.k.a. E, get the money.
E, get to the bag. Get the money.
Sir. Yes,
money.
Sir. As I say every week, Stu, I am never alone. I am joined by the G of Genius Lab.
I like
a
that.
dope cat who curates dope people.
Indeed. Dope People Podcast.
Kanye of the stock trade.
Stop it.
Music mogul in the making. My co-host, my brother, my homie, Big Stu.
Bo. They already know what it is. You know what it is. This is your man, Big Stu. Thank you, E Money. You always come through with the amazing introductions, man.
I try, brother. I try to throw the new G of Genius Lab in it.
I saw that. I like that one. I love that one. That's one that might be the next tattoo.
You know what
the
I mean?
G of Genius Lab.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We want to thank you all for tuning in today. We got a great show. We're going to intro our guests in a minute. But first, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, share. Our YouTube page is doing really well, so go over there and subscribe. Check out a few episodes. We're going to start putting up some shorter clips too. And make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend. Join in some life game conversation.
That's right. And if you get a chance while you drop MSG 100 in the chat.
No doubt. Let us know you're out there.
Indeed.
Big Stu, we got to let the people know about the merch. What's up?
Yeah, well, if you go to our website, and our website is moneysexgenxpodcast.com. You go to our website, you'll find all these old past episodes, first few seasons, but then you also get to click on merch. Okay. And if you click on merch, it'll take you to the Money Sex Gen X shop.
Okay. All
Tank
right.
tops.
Look at that. Who can I trust with my stuff?
Yeah, that's the mental health edition.
Okay.
Who can I trust with? You need a therapist. We all should get some sort of therapy.
Looking good.
The soul ties left unchecked.
What a great episode. Soul ties left unchecked.
Wow, it's equal to an STD. Wow, can't believe she said
worth
that.
Checking out. What number episode was that? Do you
remember? I think it was 4.
4.
But it was about celibacy.
Celibacy. You all gotta check that one out.
Celibacy. And the conversation was around the soul ties from having sex. And if you leave them unchecked, they'll stay with you and be an irritant to you. And she said, the guest, Lady Hope, soul ties left unchecked is equal to an STD.
Preach.
Wow.
Preach.
Wow.
Equal to an STD. That's powerful. Okay.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different colors in that. Tank tops, t-shirts and hoodies for that one. This one I think this was also our mental health. You're only selfish to people who can't get their way with you. That was a quote from the episode.
That was a quote from you, actually, I believe.
Wow.
I think you said that one. Okay.
Yeah, and that's something that I would say. I do believe that. I believe that.
That was a Stewism.
That's a Stewism?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it here first on Money Sex Gen X. There's your favorite mug.
There it is.
You have.
We owe our guest from last. We owe our guest to. Let me before I forget. We owe our guest Bridget Scarborough from last week. She wants a mug.
We have to get it to her.
We
really got to get our weight up to get all of our guests a gift.
Yes.
All of our guests. We need to go back and even make it right with our past guests. It's coming, y'all. Y'all just keep tuning in. It's coming.
We got you.
What else? What else do we have? The throw rug. the healthy eating, ease into eating better. You don't have to just jump into it. You can ease into better eating better. So yeah, man, go out to the store. Champion quality products, Champion gear. You still got to get masked up. Book bags, nighties for the ladies. You know, both of our ladies have this joint right here. That's cute.
Yep.
Leggings, ladies, so on. So a whole bunch of stuff. So go over there, grab you some socks, grab you something. Birthdays, Christmas. That's what we got going on, man. That's what's happening on the shop.
Join the movement. I think MSG merch is for the bold. You know, you got to be okay with not worrying about what somebody says about what you got on, and you know, it's sort of a movement and a mindset. So yeah, get some merch and represent the movement. All right, Big Stu. So today we're talking about a very important topic. I don't know if you and I personally have even had a conversation about this church conversation, but let's bring on our guest. He is qualified to give us his perspectives on this, and we have learned something today.
Yeah. Well, you know, I did all this preparation, and there's one thing I don't have in front of me that we're supposed to, that I'm supposed to, because he provided it. We asked him for it. So I'm not looking at his bio. I'm not, and I think God is moving in this moment, because I usually have the bio. You even text this morning, Stu, can you introduce your mans? I was like, sure, no problem, easy. And I normally would have it. I do not have the bio. So I got to freestyle it.
All right.
This is God's work. It ain't me, because I want the bio. I don't want to freestyle. But he said, do it. This is my man's, y'all. This is my man's, Stephen J. Thurston Jr., the second. I met Stephen J. through Josh Mercer and Quinn Riley. Rest in peace, Quinn Riley. When I was working at doing some work, Urban League. You remember that, Stephen?
Yep.
Urban League. So let me tell you, this brother is a godsend. He is a PK. He's a preacher's kid. His father is known to a lot of baby boomers and older Gen Xers and the lost generation. He is his father's Pastor Stephen J. Thurston. And the name of that church is
New Covenant Baptist Church.
New Covenant. I know. Come on, if you're from Chicago, you heard of New Covenant, y'all.
Yeah, I've been there.
You've been to New Covenant. That's his pops,
sir.
man.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Stephen J. Stephen J. is a ordained pastor who I got confirmation on that right before we went live. Businessman, always been stand up, thorough, humble, hilarious, well dressed, well poised brother. And I've always had an affinity to Stephen J. Stephen J. helps where he can help. I don't ever recall, and if I think he told me no, and it didn't even sound like a no. I think he told me no once, and the no still sounded like I got you. You know, so very, 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 very well poised, great energy, and well respected. A legend by name and birthright in the city of Chicago and throughout. An activist, I do know that. A coach, relationship coach. I could go on and on. Have you authored a book yet, Stephen J?
Yeah. Book drop.
Book author. I remember a couple of years ago, or a few years ago, right?
Yep.
And you'll talk about that. Author, motivator, speaker. Hey, y'all, we have with us none other than Stephen J. Thurston. Give it up for Stephen J.
Honored to be with you, Stu and E-Money. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for sharing your platform.
Yeah,
Thank you for
man.
that introduction, man. I'm going to take you with me next time I'm on stage.
Come on, everybody keeps saying that. Y'all got to make good on that. I'm willing to do it, bro. I'm willing to do it.
Well, brother, thank you for joining us this morning. I felt some really good energy from you in the green room. You know, we always have really good guests, but sometimes people are a little nervous. I didn't feel it in the green room, and, you know, you made it known. I do this. You know, I'm not new to this, so that's great. I thought you felt a very genuine energy. So thank you for coming today. So we always kind of start off by talking about why we wanted to do this episode.
Cool. All right.
So usually me and Big Stu have had a previous conversation about the topic. You know, we might talk for 30, 40 minutes. This one we didn't. But why I thought it was important is because obviously we got COVID going on right now. We got a surge in violence happening. We have a lot of people who are losing their jobs, a lot of people who are deciding to leave their jobs because they want to stay in a virtual environment due to the pandemic. And it made me start to think about the different things that people do, Stephen, to kind of keep themselves well.
Yeah.
Right? To keep their mental wellness. And I thought about this question crossed my mind, and it was really clear. It was, is the church really helping Black people in 2022? And it wasn't about trying to single out the Black church. It was just something that I thought about because I had a recent experience. And so I was like, well, maybe we should have a whole episode dedicated to this topic and try to get to, because a lot of people out there that might be going through some stuff and they might not be viewing the church as a potential option.
Yes.
So I wanted to just dive into it and see what we come up with.
I like how you're thinking, man. I love it.
Okay, good. So first, we always do, and this is one of Stu's favorite things, we do actual factuals. Before we get into our experiences and what we believe, we try to pull some data to kind of support the conversation.
Yes, sir.
We have some data scientists that we leverage called Olivine Spencer Consulting. If you need some market research, check them out. But this is what they found, Stu. So the Pew Research Center surveyed 8,660 Black adults across the United States very recently.
Shout out to Pew Research, man. They come through, bro. Unbelievable.
And they did this very recently, specifically about Black people. So this is what they came up with. Dr. Clyde Posley Jr. of Antioch Baptist Church in Indianapolis says, I don't think there should be a Black church. There isn't a Black heaven and a white heaven. A proper church will one day eschew the label of Black church and be a universal church. So that was interesting. So I want to definitely talk about that. Some other research that came back, it said that among Black adults who go to religious services, 60% attend churches where the senior clergy and most of the congregation are Black. 25% went to multiracial congregations, 13% are a part of congregations that are predominantly white or some other ethnicity. So that was interesting. Among 30 Black pastors and religious leaders interviewed by Pew, some predicted that the Black church attendance will continue to shrink and the multicultural congregations will continue to increase. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Sure. And the last one that I thought was a good one is the survey found that 66% of Black Americans are Protestant, 6% are Catholic, which I would have thought that was higher. 3% identify with other Christian faiths, mostly Jehovah's Witnesses. Now that's interesting to me because I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not one now, but I grew up, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, so that was interesting. And then 21% you all are not affiliated with any religion and identify as atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular. So those are actual factors.
Would non-denominational fall under that last 21%? No.
And why not? That's a good question.
Non-denominational they still traditionally fall within the Christian context. They just don't ascribe to the particular doctrine of a particular denomination. We're not going with Church of God in Christ. We're not going with Baptists, Methodists. We just believe Jesus. And really what it is, it becomes a hodgepodge of different faith traditions within the Christian realm that are kind of merged together. And they just don't identify with one particular one. That's pretty much what non-denominational is, because you can see elements of some of everything and everybody in those environments.
Okay. I definitely didn't know that. Okay. Now, out of those stats that we gave, Stephen, are there any of them that kind of jumped out at you that you want to respond to or kind of give us some insight on?
Yeah, the very first statement, if we could deal with that one about there not being a Black church, no need for a Black church. I want to know who's putting the money behind the Black man that said that. Always got to follow the money when it comes to research and data. That's bullshit.
Man. Come on, man.
All right, give it to him.
Because white people are not going to allow a Black man to lead their soul.
This is what I'm talking about, E-Money. This is what I'm talking about, E-Money.
Very few white people will allow a Black man to lead their soul. And so whenever you have white people that come into black spaces or want black people in white spaces in the church realm, it's always from a place of dominance. When we look at the data and the numbers on those multi-ethnic church, that's a different type of black person that goes to that church generally. And you'll notice in those church contexts that black people can only be in certain spaces in those churches. They're never on the trustee board. They're never on the deacon board. They're never on the finance team. They're not behind the scenes in the power making positions. They lead in worship. They own the instruments. They can usher. They're leading maybe some role in children's ministry, but power positions, they do not have. White people have historically come into the scene to conquer and control. And that even is present in the church space, in the Christian faith.
I'm already blown up. I'm over here with my mouth. I'm just like blown away.
I appreciate the candor. Now,
and when they try to, one more piece on that, when we try to do this whole merging thing, it's always our perspective, our lens, our presentation of worship of God is always kind of like pushed down. We always have to adapt to their way. So again, that's not going to work. We got to have a black church because there's a black experience that's rich, and they're not going to allow us to do what we do in our fullness and just be. So there's always going to be a black church because black people need an environment where they can just be, where they can be free to speak, where they can be free to worship in our ways, where we can tap back into our ancestral roots, because some of the elements that take place in the black church, it really don't have nothing to do with Jesus, God. It's tapped into our culture and our history from the motherland, the shouting and giving God praise, tap dancing. That you go to Africa, spend some time there. I do. That comes from there. And it's really not, if you research it, Genesis, it's not about a God thing. But we've adapted that into our worship experience. And I'm not knocking it, but we just have to understand where things come from. And that ain't what they do in the white space. And they're not going to give us the space to be us because it's about conquering and domination.
Man, wow. We saw a recent example of exactly what you're saying on, what's that show that Oprah Winfrey had about the church? It's on
Netflix. Movie or
no? It's a series that a lot of people were watching.
Greenleaf.
Greenleaf. So Greenleaf was an example of there was a powerful black church run by a family, and then some other non-black people came in to take those people out of the control that they had of their church. I mean, there was a lot of different stuff that happened. But towards the end, it's basically like they're telling you, like, you're not, like, to your point, you're not going to be able to lead the church. You're not going to be able to do this. And it was a church that they actually owned before these people came into play. So I can imagine how often that's coming into play and how it's turning in. It's more business focused also than spiritual focus. They viewed it as a corporate merger
and takeover.
It was like a hostile takeover.
Yeah.
That's how I took it. So that's a great point. Now, Stu, have you kind of witnessed this in your life, what Stephen is talking about?
No, I mean, no, I don't even, I'm so blown away because I've never even had the inclination to have this conversation at this level with this perspective. So, you bring up Greenleaf, it's kind of interesting because I have seen episodes of it, and I do imagine that there's a lot of mirroring of reality in Greenleaf in the church. I mean, the church is the church. It's still humans involved.
Sure.
And they all humans. This is period. Like the pastor's still a man, the first, so, but no, I think I'm enlightened to learn this morning so far about the perspectives of why a black church is needed.
That's like them talking about we don't need HBCUs. Hell, what do you mean? Right. Y'all wouldn't let us, so we created our own. And again, the black church is the same way. They would not let us, so we created our own. So,
E-Money, I think this is a great segue, I think, to having Stephen answer your burning question. And I don't know if you're okay with going there in this very moment. Like,
I think this is the perfect time.
Perfect segue. I'm interested to hear your perspective on this, Stephen. Is the church really helping black people in And it, let's change it to 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
Is the church really helping us?
I think some are and some aren't. I don't think it's a monolithic piece. Every context is different. I am a critic of the church. I've been in it my whole life, fourth generation preacher, pastor, all of that. So I bring a different lens, and I'm an outlier too. And so though I'm inside, I'm a whole lot outside, and I bring that lens to it. And I think that the church has to do better. Many of the pastors that are in play now, those senior leaders, they were equipped to do ministry in the 20th century. They were not equipped to do ministry for the 21st century. So as time has progressed, methods have changed, approaches have changed, the demographics have changed. Church has not kept up with the pace of change. And so in many contexts, they're outdated in so many ways. And so we now find that the church is not as impactful, not as effective for certain demographics within our community, certain age groups. They feel that the church is irrelevant. It makes no point. It has no point. The preaching has no point. The output of the ministry has no point. And so I am a critic of pastors passing the baton, because I believe that many leaders have stayed too long. Many baby boomers are operating in the leadership space that Gen X and younger should be operating in. They were supposed to take us to the Red Sea and lead us through the Red Sea and not into the promised land. It's supposed to be passed on for somebody younger to take us into the promised land, and they holding up the progress. And so their mindset concerning ministry is not relevant to serve this present age. And so it's like, get out the way. So some of us younger folk who still got the energy, the vigor, the vitality, the imagination, and we have a true pulse on young people, can reach people. One of the other, you kind of alluded to it in those stats and data, but the largest demographic of African Americans falls within the unchurched and the dechurched. And the church is equipped just to deal with the churched people, not the unchurched or the dechurched. Why are we not diving into those pools if our mission is to lead souls to Christ and make change in people's lives? Why the hell are we not equipped to do that? Because we got old ass people who don't have what's needful and necessary in our current context to reach the people that need to be reached, to bring them along, to make the church relevant and real for our present age.
You said a word that really jumped out at me. I watched this video this morning at like 3:00 this morning by a brother named Myron Golden.
I love Myron Golden. I love Myron Golden.
Oh, you up on him? Okay, I saw him on David Shan's podcast, and then I started watching. I went down a rabbit hole, a bunch of videos. But anyway, he was talking about 4 ways to add value, Stephen, and he hit on a concept that you talked about. I'm going to name the top 2 that he said. One was communication. So he was talking about how one of the best ways to add value into an environment, or he was also talking about making money, is to be a strong communicator. And this kind of hits to some of your points about what needs to be revamped. Communicating in a way that touches people, not just talking, talking. But the number one way that he said that you add value, and this specific word you said is imagination. And he was talking about how when you bring imagination to the table, and that's how you approach things, that is the greatest way to add value. And so it applies to what you just said about the church. It seems to be an element of imagination that is woefully missing.
Yes, sir. Yep. The older crew, they've stopped dreaming. They've stopped visioning. They don't have the imagination. They don't know how to connect in this space. The fact that we've got churches that still aren't on social media platforms, and they're fighting like hell to stay away from them. Like, what's wrong with you?
So talk to me about that. So one of the things that occurred, I started taking over the youth group in my church. I'm over there with Reverend Wells, Derek B. Wells, Johnny.
Yes.
I'm a member of Christ Universal Temple. And so I hear there's some churches that is why is there such a resistance? Why is there such resistance with adapting to this virtual space? Like, can you explain any of that? Give me some insight on that.
Sure. Confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance are one of the greatest plaguers of our people. There's a futurist that said the most illiterate people of the 21st century aren't individuals who can't read or write. It's individuals who can't learn, unlearn, and then relearn. And many people in the church context have failed to engage that process of learning, unlearning, and then relearning, again, to stay current and stay relevant. And so if for all these years you've talked about the Facebook is the devil and you demonize these platforms, and now COVID comes and that's the only way we can reach people.
Wow.
How are you going to justify your demonization? And it was really, you just lacked understanding and information, and you were afraid to step outside of your comfort zone.
Wow.
Because change really boils down to control. People aren't afraid to change. People are afraid to lose control or perceived control. And in the black church for many black people is the only thing that we control. Because on Monday morning, they get up and go to a white man's job, a white man's office, live in a white man's world. And church, that's why that deacon fights like hell against the preacher, because that's the only place he has power and position. The only place he has a voice. His dog won't even lick his feet at home. His wife won't even make dinner for him. But in church, I'm deacon such and such. And
wow.
And so you got those dynamics, post-traumatic slave syndrome that's passed down through epigenetic transmission. And so those elements impact us in this place where we own everything, where we control everything, and we want to keep things as they are. Because if we let go, if we change, if we shift, if we let young person come in and control our media, I'm losing power and control. Church stays stuck. It goes backwards. And now they looking at me crazy. And I'm like, 2 years ago, I was talking about metaverse. We need to tap into the metaverse, get a virtual church. They literally laughed me out of the staff meeting. I never even thought about that. Wow.
They laughed you out of the staff meeting.
I was like, hey, let's get the virtual headsets. Let's get it to our members who are out of town, because we got members across the globe.
Yeah.
Let's do that so that they can feel like they're actually in the sanctuary. They laughed at me. COVID hits, we go virtual. We were already on that. But now we've got people who are literally doing metaverse churches. I know the guy who has 300 members. His first launch, he had 300 new people that connected with his church in the metaverse.
Yeah,
man,
I know churches
I never even thought about that.
That giving your offering, you can give your offering via Bitcoin.
That's right.
And that church is like, what is that? What? Huh? Crypt what? No, church is always 15, 20 years behind something. Everybody else, every other industry. And so it takes the imagination and the ingenuity of young people. But y'all got to give us the power, old people. Let us do what we do. Let us rock this thing out so that there's posterity to the black church and we don't die out as those numbers are suggesting is going to happen. And we see it happening with so many churches across the country who used to be doing it, but now they're museums and mausoleums because they held on too long.
Let me ask you a couple of questions, man. You're a likable guy, always have been. But I'm making some assumptions here. I would imagine you piss a lot of people off.
Yes, sir.
You piss a lot of people off because you say stuff. You're never disrespectful, but you say stuff that most of us only think about and are too afraid to say.
Yeah.
How is that? How are you dealing with that? Like, what is that experience? Like, how are you dealing with that, man?
Yeah. So it's in my DNA. Let's take a walk back down history lane. We hear so many people around King Day, Black History Month. Oh, I was with King. My grandma was King. That's a lie. Black people didn't like Martin Luther King. Black churches didn't like Martin Luther King. Black pastors were not supporting Martin Luther King. Right. Here in the city of Chicago, there were 3 churches that would allow him in his pulpit. You heard me right, 3. One of those churches was New Covenant Baptist Church. My grandfather, John Thurston, and Dr. King were very good friends. If you ever go to the African American History Museum in Washington, D.C. and get up to that level, you'll see an image of Dr. King's horse-driven carriage being pulled down the street. There's a guy that's walking in front of the carriage. That's my grandfather. Okay. He's leading his best friend to his final resting place. That's how close the relationship was. So Dr. King preached at the church. That's back in the day. For those who know Chicago history, Old Man Daly was running the show, and you didn't cross him. My grandfather gave 0, y'all can fill in the blanks about that. He did what he wanted to do. He was free. He had his own money. And that freedom has passed down from generation to generation. And my father always made sure that I was in a place where I was free, where I didn't have to be beholden to anybody. Taught me how to get my own money, manage my money well, so that I would have the freedom to say what needs to be said without having a harness on. And that has continued throughout my life. You can get rid of me. You cannot invite me. That's cool. I'm a hustle. I'm going to get my paper, but I'm going to speak truth to power. I'm going to say what needs to be said. And I know a lot of pastors are not in that position. They can't do it. They'll inbox me or see me. Hey, man, I love what you say. Thank you for saying it. I don't like stuff on your post because my members on there and I don't want them to see. I get it, man. I understand. Let me be the mouthpiece and say what needs to be said to cause people to think, to consider, to look at things from a new lens, because I believe that's the only way we grow. And if I've got to be the sacrificial lamb, then power to the people. I'm going to do it. I'm going to raise my voice. And the only way you're going to shut me up is to kill me. So be ready, because I come packing too.
Wow. The packing pastor. This is what I'm talking about, E. I already knew. Yeah. I already knew. I didn't. Hey, I love. There's not a lot of people who I knew that would give us what we needed for Money, Sex, Gen X on this topic, and I think all of this, God, this is ordained. For all these years we've been knowing each other for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
For moments like this, and this is what I want to say and add. Imagine what we are creating here. This time in history that is documented for eternity.
Yes.
This conversation. Imagine what this conversation, the weight of this conversation, 10 years, 20 years from now. Imagine where each of us will be and the impetus of this conversation now and the timeliness of it, specific to where we are in the pandemic, where we are with the changing of the guards in every institution imaginable. Women are leading households, digital currency, virtual education, virtual churches, lifestyle choices. Everything is changing. And this moment in time is absolutely legendary and historic. And I'm super excited for where we go from here, even in this conversation. So again, thank you for being willing to have this conversation with us.
I love this.
And if you're just tuning in, this is the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. This is season 5, episode 6. We are here with a brother who is not afraid to speak his mind. He is definitely in the cloth, and he is still willing to be very vocal about how he feels, even if it doesn't fit traditional guidelines about how you're supposed to act, how you're supposed to talk. And I find it very refreshing. Now, I want to get into this. So I've been exposed to Islam, 5% Nation, of course, Christianity, more recently Scientology. And a lot of times when you say Scientology, people say, whatever. One of the things I learned in Scientology, Stephen, that I think is very important that ties into this conversation is we often still use words that we really don't know the meaning of.
Yes.
And by not knowing the meanings of these words, it contributes or leads to other problems in one's life. And so because of that, we got to walk this back for a second and tell the people, what is the definition, Stephen, of church? What does that word mean?
Gotcha, man. Thank you for sharing a couple of things. Your faith journey. So I'm going to get to your question, but I wanted just to highlight that because I hate Christians from this lens. We think that we know everything and we just got it right. And we never consider that we could be wrong. And we also never consider that other faith traditions have values and principles that not only align with ours, but they've got stuff that we don't have and do stuff that we don't do that are beneficial to humanity at large. And so I love connecting with people outside of my faith tradition so I can learn something, so that I can grow, I can expand. And I mean, with you walking through that path of those various faith traditions, you bring so much knowledge, insight, and information to the table. So thank you for taking those journeys and not being stuck. So I had to highlight that, celebrate that.
Yeah,
church,
no
it's a body, it's a collection. We've made it into a building, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not. And I hate how, especially in the pandemic and trying to get people back into a building because preachers want butts in the seat, we've bastardized that phrase, that term, church, and made it about a building. Collection.
Let's emphasize that real quick for the people. We've made it into a building. Is that what you said? We made it into a building, but it's not.
Yeah, we made church about a building, and it's not.
It's not. Okay.
Yeah, ecclesia, a community, a collection of individuals that come together. That's what it is. Collection of individuals that come together. and we come together in our various ways, for worship, for play, for whatever we do. It's just a body, a collection of people that come together to form this body.
I like that. I like that definition. Okay. Stu, what's your definition of church?
A building.
It's a building. Okay.
It's a building where people who go to worship, it's a place where the spiritually ill can go to seek healing. But I do recognize that we in church right now. This is church right now. I do recognize that.
Yeah.
But the first thing that comes to mind when I think about let's go to church, I'm thinking about what's the address? Where we going?
Yeah.
But we churching right now, though. I do know that about. So that's my definition of church is a building. It's a building.
That's an honest answer. Now, Stu, I want to ask you this because Stephen spoke on this also. What is your tolerance for other? Because we've never talked about this. What is your tolerance for other points of view spiritually?
I'm open to various. I've practiced. I've messed around. I spent a whole bunch of years following Farrakhan, and I knew that I didn't have the discipline to be Fruit of Islam. So I messed around in the 5% Nation as well. But I'm a Johnny baby. And if you're in Chicago in the spiritual realm, you know what that means. I'm born into Christ Universal Temple. So I always had that foundation, and I'm back there now full time. But I'm down with Buddhism. I'm down with, there's some, I have my ideas about Catholicism, I've heard some things about everything. I think there's a place for almost all of it. You know what I mean? I think I haven't come across anything other than Satanism. That devil worship. I'm like, I ain't fooling with that, over there. But I think everything else, I can receive and take pieces from it all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's like when I put an address in on my GPS, it'll give me multiple paths to get to my final destination.
There you go.
Man, I say that all the time.
I say that. Too. Yeah.
That's exactly.
And you should be able to. I always felt like you should be able to access the one that makes the most sense to you, right?
Sure.
So, like, if we all decide we're going to go to DC on a trip and we take separate cars, but we all say, hey, we're going to get there by 8 a.m., I should be able to pick whatever car I want to pick to get there, right? As long as we all get there at 8 a.m., it shouldn't matter. And that's how I've always viewed it. Now, I want to get a little bit deeper into this. All right. So, Stephen, you very eloquently talked about how the way that the church is constructed presently, it's not appropriate to what's going on in society. You talked about how there are a lot of older people who don't want to give over the reins to the younger people. We talked about the unwillingness to communicate, which another thing I learned this morning that I want to bring up that relates to this is they talked about how some people will do work so that they can avoid communicating. Some people will do certain types of work, manual work, for example, so they can avoid communicating.
I have to talk to people.
It takes in the church. They don't want to, we're talking about it in a different way, but they're avoiding the communication. And that leads to a lack of imagination. So I want to talk more about what are you doing, because you seem to be a very innovative person in spirituality. What are you doing that's appropriate to what's going on in society right now?
Yeah, man. So I just pitched this in a staff meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we've got a couple of buildings that we own. And so I made the request that we would engage in a partnership with mental health specialists, bring them into our building, have open Thursday therapy is what I called it. And the building would be open. That physician, that mental health physician or specialist would now have that building. So they would have another location that I don't want to charge them for. Members in the community and the church, they have access. If individuals don't have health care, we create a line item in our budget that helps to underwrite so many individuals that can come in for therapy sessions, because I believe mental health is a critical component that we have to address, and the church is prime place to do that. So that's one of the pieces, most recent pieces that we're seeking to put in place to serve this present age, because ministry has to be different. We got different ills and needs. Suicide is more prevalent. That used to be, oh, that's what white people do. No,
Right.
no. That's what we's doing,
Mhm.
and at young ages. And so we got to tap into these spaces and places that church has traditionally said, that's taboo. So that's one example.
Preach, brother, preach. People need to hear this, man. I love that. Yeah, we got to address the mental health. How can we have appropriate solutions without a mental health component?
I want to go back to why one of the reasons that really excited me about this conversation. I want to look. Black folks in the church are broken right now. It's fragmented. Mm-hmm. There's a perception that only the big churches, only the Bishop, what's the big homie name down in Texas?
Jakes.
Only Bishop Jakes is doing it, and this is Furtick, and
yeah.
You know, it's only a couple of us out here, a couple of you brothers out here that's doing, and Hannah,
yeah, I used to go to this.
You know, so it's almost like, you know, if you don't have a big congregation, you're almost irrelevant as a building. People ain't coming back into the building, and it's the numbers online, you know, are kind of fragmented. What is happening from your perspective, Stephen J., with just the relationship and value and understanding of what it is to glorify and honor God that we seem to have gotten away from, particularly as a Black society? Like, we just don't talk or think about God like I remember when we came up. What is going on from that perspective there?
Cool. Great question, man. Before I answer that, let me tap on to something that you said, because you're right. There's a misconception that's only a few people out here that are doing it, that are meeting the needs. The average church in America has 100 people in it.
Okay, that's good.
Average church in America has 100 people, and all 100 ain't showing up every Sunday. And so when you see the mega church, those are outliers. That is not the norm. That's who gets the press. And I know a lot of these pastors of smaller congregations and communities, and they are doing the work. They just don't get the press. They're meeting the needs of the people in the congregation and community. And I always want to celebrate them, because they're often not celebrated, and they're demeaned and belittled because people just don't know what they're doing. And they don't have the capacity in many facets to do it on a bigger scale. And so we celebrate them. To your question. All right. So I'm a sociology major. I'm a sociologist, got a degree in that area. So I look at it from a sociological lens. Crack had a major impact on the Black community that people never traced down to the church. When you had the crack epidemic, it created crack babies. Those crack babies were then raised by grandparents. Grandmama then, back in that day, most of them went to church. Sunday, you go to church. You come to church with me. And so grandmama took them to church. They get to grandmama's church. I don't like this. It's old. It's old fashioned. They ain't got nothing for young people. So when I get older, I ain't going to church. When I get of age where I can tell grandmama, no, I ain't going. That person is now a grandparent. Wow. And so you got that person that disconnected from church, their kids that disconnected from church, their grandkids that disconnected from church. So many places in our community, you've got a disconnect that has lasted 2, 3, or 4 generations, depending on how quickly they procreating. 4 generations of disconnect from church, disconnect from God. And so now the church is trying to, well, where the people at? Where the young people at? And we go to funerals and they like, oh, these young people so unruly. They've got no respect for God's house. Hell, they don't know nothing about what we've been doing, because nobody in their family for the past 2 or 3 generations has had any connection or relationship. That is why you see what you see in the question that you raise of people not having the reverence for church, the reverence for God, the reverence for the preacher. Back in the day, you walk by the church, you smoke your cigarette, you put it out, and you know, all of that stuff that our elders used to do. None of that has translated because they've had no relationship, no connection. And the church has made no viable efforts to connect to these people because they lack the imagination to do so. And they lack the willpower to engage younger people who could reach those younger people over the course of those couple of generations.
That's great. That's super great. Go ahead, E.
No, it made me think about something. So to that point, so for me, supreme mathematics gave me And if you're not familiar with supreme mathematics, it's part of, maybe you are, it's a tool that's used by 5% Nation to help people develop their mind and change their lives. So where you would maybe reference the Bible and other things, that their foundation would be the supreme mathematics. That helped me save my life. And our church was building in ciphers. So this is on the East Coast. You will see Gods and Earths building in a cipher. But what you just said made me think about something, because you were saying people's view of God changed people's view of God. But I want to ask you something. What if a person has a different view of God than you do? How does that fit into this appropriation conversation that we're having? They might feel that they are God. How does that fit, and how do you tap in and reach those people? Because the interesting thing about the Nation of Gods and Earths, back early in time, they went on the street literally to talk directly to the youth, to the point where they were out there shooting dice with them. Clarence 13X, one of the primary leaders at the time, he was out there shooting dice because he knew, like you said, that those young people had to be reached. But now it's 2022. What does that look like? What could it look like?
Yeah, great question. I believe there can be no discipleship unless there's first relationship. So that approach is critical and crucial. I mean, when I came back from school to pastor New Covenant, a lot of the guys in the neighborhood around New Covenant respected my dad, respected the church, but had no dealings because the church people seemed uppity and bougie and looked down upon them. And they didn't recognize the people in the hood were protecting out of respect for my dad, making sure they got good and they were taken care of. And so I started building rapport and relationship. I wouldn't be in my office every day. I'd be on the block. I'd be on 79th Street. I found out who was moving the weight, who was running the streets around there. And I connected with them and hung with them to the point where they started telling their baby mamas, this my pastor. No, for real. I'm connected to church. This my pastor. This my guy. I'll roll with them, hang with them. And I never beat them up for what they did. Never tried to stop their lifestyle, change it.
Beautiful.
And as a result of just being real and accepting where they were in life, understanding what they were doing, what they had to do. This ain't about flossing. I'm trying to feed my family. I got to move a little something. I was able to then move into a space of influence in their life. And we moved them from selling bricks to building bricks, getting into real estate. So all of that discipleship came as a result of relationship. And because of that, they started asking theological questions. Man, tell me about this God stuff and what you be talking about on Sunday. Help me to understand that. I remained open. This is about to be mutually beneficial. I'm about to learn from you, even from a theological lens, and you're going to learn from me, because we all have something to bring to the table. And I am a big proponent of what's known as deconstruction. And I think deconstruction is a critical space that preachers and pastors and church leaders need to move into, where we deconstruct and we pull off some of the bullshit that's around our view of God, around our view of the Bible, the sacred text, and everything that we do in church, and just kind of scale back and get to what's really important and take out all the fluff and the extra stuff. And I think because I've got that deconstructionist mindset, I'm open to having conversations and wrestling with stuff that people bring to the table about perceptions of God, perceptions of the biblical text, perceptions of faith. And I believe that more Christians need to move into that space of being open, because a strong belief doesn't really equal strong faith. We believe in some stuff that really ain't rooted and connected. And so
we got a couple new T-shirts coming out out of this episode.
We do.
I guess gonna start
brother.
catching on. Like, they're gonna be careful when they come on here now. They like, hold up, they taking my quotes and
see you walking down the street. Something you said.
You say you're dropping jewels today,
man. Stu, I like this, brother.
Thank you, man.
This is a very different conversation. That's why you don't prejudge people. This is a very different conversation than I thought we were going to have with you, because my experiences in the Midwest with pastors and people in Christianity, I've never even heard someone like this of like cursing, and I never. And my thing is, why not? If that's who you are, you made the point of being yourself and being. What does that have to do with your belief in the Creator or anything else, your spirituality? And I've never heard someone say, and I know people have done it, but I just never heard it. A pastor saying, I went and hung with these individuals, these young people, while they were doing what they do, and I didn't judge them. You know, to the point where they're like telling their baby, oh, this is my pastor, and they can't even believe it. to me, that is like, I've never even heard that in a Christianity context. And maybe I'm just limited in my experiences. But I really respect that.
I think you spot on. I think you spot on. It's just like, the fact is, we have been indoctrinated to believe that because you stand in the pulpit, you are perfect and you are absolved from humanness.
Yeah.
That is my newest realization. Yeah. The pastor is a real dude.
Exactly.
Or a real woman that there's no way to avoid some similar thoughts than I have, than they have. Now, some people are further along in their journey than others.
Yep.
You know, further along in that steadfastness and that obedience than others. Like, I feel like I'm at the infancy of this journey for me, but I can't have a cocktail.
Right.
I can't. I got a mouth like a sailor. That's going to be a minute before I figure that out for me. But I think we get caught up in the pastors, and they're not supposed to say what which is messing up the whole concept of why we don't even go to church, because that dude ain't real. Because if I see him doing something, if I see him, flip somebody the bird for cutting them off in traffic, now you the pastor, you shouldn't do that. You know, it's like, you hanging out with the dude you the pastor, you shouldn't. What, I'm supposed to judge the brother? I'm trying to lead the sheep, you know, like. So I think that's what it is.
Or they'll say, like, if they see you flip over, they might be like, "Oh, he's fake." You know, actually, he's being real. He's doing it while you're right there. You
exactly.
know, it's not hiding. So yeah, I mean, it's very refreshing, man. I definitely appreciate that. Now, I wanted to get into this too. I know we're running out of time, and thank you for hanging in there with us. But I want to get into. You talked a little bit about Africa. You were saying that you visited Africa. And I wanted to talk to the people about the current state of Christianity in Africa and how you see ancient Africa, what we really need to pull from that in today's time.
Yeah. So I spent a little time in Morocco. I'm actually trying to relocate there, get a second home. So that's my space. So my time that I've spent in Morocco, Islamic nation, Islamic culture, which I'm totally cool and comfortable with. I didn't look for no Christians. I ain't look for no church. I like to be in different spaces and learning different things from different people. I believe that Africa is the motherland of all people, of all races. I believe that Christians need to stop whitewashing the Bible and listening to white evangelicals, because they'll have you to believe that what's in the text didn't happen in Africa. That's Africa that you're reading from. And then black people in that Bible. Jesus looked more like us here than Michelangelo's boyfriend, who's actually hanging in most of our churches. Another conversation for another time.
Man, we might have to get into some of that because I know you. E is very focused. He's statistics. He's data. He's on task. I'm the opposite. There's a squirrel. You know what I mean? I'm like, right? So look. But so now, how is the church? I want to ask this question because this is what Stu do. How's the church receiving the LGBT community? How is the church receiving pronouns and the transgender? How is the church receiving black? I'm talking about the black church, the only churches I know.
Sure.
How are we as a community of people, black folks, receiving? And this ain't even a real question. Like, are we open to the LGBTQ pastor? We have to, right? Or would they have black LGBTQ community churches?
Good question. And is that appropriate? How
is the church receiving this in relationship to the Bible? That's a very real question from me to you, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that question. I actually just recently connected past 6 months with the organization Pride in the Pew. Let me give them a shout out. And they're doing some amazing work in this space, LGBTQ plus community and the Black Church. Pride in the Pew. Okay, yep, y'all can Google them, look them up. Doing amazing work in this space. I've been brought on as a consultant to use my platform and voice to reach out to straight pastors, other straight pastors. They're developing curriculum that will help churches and help pastors to appropriately address the LGBTQ plus community that's a part of their church, that are often silent, that are often hurt and harmed in the church in multiple ways, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and even physically. All of that takes place in our church, and that community has always been a part of our church. We knew, we just didn't say nothing. We let it ride. They're part of the community. Did we always highlight them and put them in places of power and position? No, unless it was music. Let's be honest. Outside that, we would pimp them for their gift and then diss them in the sermon. They didn't shout at us and got us to a spiritual place, and then we lambast them when we get up to preach. That's happened. And so I think the tide is changing. I don't think it's changing quick enough. But I think, again, as more younger people shift into positions of power and leadership in the church, we younger people aren't as standoffish about those taboo issues as an older demographic is. So I think some stuff has to be killed and other stuff is just going to die. So it depends on the context. But it's moving, it's changing, but it's a slow change that's happening. But again, I think that's because we still have so many senior saints that are in leadership. As the younger crew comes along, I think we'll see a total shift. Next 5 to 10 years, it won't be so much of an issue as it is now.
All right. If you're just tuning in, this is the Money, Sex, Gen X podcast. This is season 5, episode 6. Should you go to church? We got Brother Stephen Thurston here. We're rounding home base. So, brother, I wanted to ask you, we got sidetracked from my Africa comment, but that's okay. I got another question that I want to ask you before we close out. If you were to be any other religion, what would you choose? I know you said you're open and you expose yourself, but what would you choose if you chose another one?
Man, I'll be Farrakhan Jr., man.
Okay.
That's
not hard for me to believe either. That's not hard for me to believe.
Yeah, he's been connected with my family for decades. I love the minister. He was one of my idols, one of my mentors growing up from a distance. I was like, man, if my daddy wasn't Stephen Thurston, I'll be right over there on Stony Island, and I will be his successor by now.
In NOI, yeah.
Okay.
That's dope.
I know a lot of people that might shock a lot of people out there, but the brother is being real. Real.
The minister's a brilliant guy, genius.
Absolutely. And helped save many lives, including my own. So
yes, sir.
We got into a lot today. So we defined what church is. We talked about solutions that are appropriate to today's society. We got to hear from what I would consider a very revolutionary gentleman when it comes to faith and Christianity. We talked about certain problems that can be addressed in terms of mental health, embracing other communities that are kind of more prevalent nowadays. We were about to get into the Africa conversation. Stu, do we have time for that? I do want to get a second.
Yeah, it's only 9:02. We still have we have plenty of time. We have plenty of time. Yeah. So, brother, it's really up to Stephen J. We end. We try to end about 9:30, but
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
Okay,
He's got a few minutes. All
right, so let's do this. So let's get into what is appropriate to pull from the African spirituality experience to use today.
Man, I think a lot of African spirituality really already exists in the Black church. We just haven't named it because we haven't done the research and we haven't done the history. We don't know about it, but it's actually there. Remnants of it are there, and we do it every Sunday. And we don't recognize when the preacher's hooping, tuning up. Some people say he got some music in his voice. That traces back. The rhythmic tone of our speech, that's from the motherland. It's so much that we literally already do. And I would just encourage our people to do the homework, do the research, because you hear people saying ignorant ass stuff about that. And we can't do that. You shouldn't burn sage and all of that. Read your damn Bible. Like all of that stuff is already in there because they was doing it because they was over there. And it's just translated and looks a different way in a Western context and a 21st century context, but it's there. So I think that's a rich foundation of who we are and what we are. And amazingly, again, because white people have whitewashed our faith tradition, we have kind of taken that mindset of, oh, that's bad. No. That brought us, that kept us. That's what our people did centuries ago, generations ago, millennia ago. And it's still a part of us. And we have to embrace it and be more intentional, I think, of including those elements and naming those elements that we do in our current worship experiences.
Be more intentional. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having this conversation with us today.
Man, y'all have been a blast.
Yeah, I love this combo. I can't wait to go back and rewatch it. I want you to take us out, if you could, by answering the question. You've answered it kind of in pieces, but if a young person is out there or older person is not tapped in, should they go to church?
Yes. I believe that you should be connected to a body of faith for multiple reasons, for inspiration, for elevation. We were created to be in relationship. Relationship is a critical component to our humanity. And the church space, whether it be a virtual space or an in-person space, it provides a community for connectedness. We can learn, glean, and grow from each other. Somebody has been where you currently are. And it's in that space where we can learn the path and the steps that they took to grow and to change their lives, to move in a transformational space. Of course, I'm a Christian, and Jesus's ministry was about change and transformation. And so anybody who's not changing, who's not transforming, you're an antichrist from an etymological sense of the word. There ought to be change and transformation, and we can't change and transform by ourselves, because if we grade our own paper, we're going to always get an A. We need to be in community, and community is the best place for us to change and grow. So make sure you're connecting with a community where you're not just going, but you're growing. It makes no sense to be a part of any church where you're just going out of rote, ritual, and routine. It needs to be a place of encouragement, enlightenment, and development. Those are the critical components. You got to be changing and transforming. Get what you can get out of it, and give what you can give to it. Because those people in that place called church, that place called community, they don't have it all. And God could be sending you to that place because you've got that missing component that community needs to kind of level them up and take them to the next level.
Indeed. I like how you said, if you grade your own paper, you'll always get an A. That's an important point. It definitely ties in. Now, I heard you got a poppin' Facebook live thing that you're doing. Let the people know, because there's probably some people out there like, man, I'd love to go to his church or connect with this brother. Where can they find you, and what's up with this Facebook Live that you got going on?
Cool, man. I've got the Mirror Moment. It happens every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on my Facebook page, Stephen Thurston. You can find me there. Facebook every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, Mirror Moment. I deal with leadership and relationship. Those are my two areas of kind of focus and expertise. And we're actually doing a Mirror Moment meetup in Morocco in October. So if you want to get in on that, you want to get out the country, have some fun over in Africa, meet me. That information is on my Facebook page. You can visit my website, Stephen J. Thurston, Stephen with a PH, StephenJThurston.com. I've got content there, again, for leadership, for relationship purposes, just a plethora of things on that platform where you can catch me. Instagram, Stephen Thurston, Twitter, SJT Speaks. Get at me. Okay. And then from a church perspective, if you want to connect, I'm serving as the executive pastor of the Salem Baptist Church of Chicago, the House of Hope.
Salem, okay.
I'm in that current role now with Pastor James Meeks. And so you can catch me over there at the House of Hope.
Indeed.
And everything is online too. All we can see the services online. Everything is online. To come in person or digitally, virtually.
Yes, that's it.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Indeed. Well, brother, thank you so much for coming out and being real.
Man,
let's definitely stay in touch, and we'd love to have you back in our next season. We're going to let you go. We know you're busy, but thank you again. Man. Beautiful conversation.
Thank you, man. Great meeting you, E. Thank you, sir.
Likewise.
Absolutely.
Likewise. Always good to connect with you, buddy.
You as well, brother. I appreciate you. I will be hitting you up on some other stuff, so thanks a lot, man.
Let's do
Stephen
it.
J. Thurston, y'all. Stephen J. Thurston, indeed. Wow. Episode 6, man.
I love it. I love it.
Episode 6 in the
Wasn't
books.
what I thought it was going to be, Stu, at all.
Yeah. Feel free to log on off, Stephen. You in the green. We're going to keep going with our show, man. We'll catch up with you. Thanks a lot, brother. All right.
That was refreshing. That was refreshing.
So you didn't know that he was going to be coming like that.
Yeah, you don't know, and that's why I try not to prejudge.
No, I knew how he was going to come.
But it still wasn't what I wasn't prejudging, but I still thought it was going to be here. You know
no, I knew what it was going to be. I said, when you get a chance, if you ever get a chance to see his socials, you know, he and that's part of. I was going to say, I think he's going to definitely be ushering in the next generation of churchgoers for sure.
Oh, I can see that.
People, the old has to go out. No, there's not but things, and then there's a transition. But I see him leading. That's why I said these next 10, 20 years, bro. You'll have this you'll be like, man, remember this conversation we said in 10, 20 years, man, that dude was gonna be I like it happened.
Yeah,
it happened. Yeah, I heard it here first. That's a prediction.
Yeah. Man, I really agree with you on that. I could see that, and that's what I like about what we're doing with this show. It's like, even though I'm sure this brother has a large audience already, but our show gives Gen Xers a way to connect possibly with a new audience.
Yeah.
Right. There's somebody out there that didn't know him. My wife was on. I saw her making a comment about the metaverse. She may not have known about this brother, but I want us to continue to do that, man. It can provide a place and a space for people to become connected to a new audience.
Yeah.
Let's
do it. Let's keep doing it.
Let's keep doing it, and let's keep finding some dope people to bring on the show. So we got another segment that we got to get into. We got two more segments. We got This is a Characters from Corporate.
Oh, we got a character.
I labeled it wrong. Yeah, it came in, but it's Characters from Corporate. All right. Characters from Corporate, if you're just tapping in, we try to give some feedback. Me and Stu are older gentlemen, so we've had some corporate experience. Maybe seasoned is a better word. Had some corporate experiences. We try to give some feedback to younger people, sometimes people our age. All right, so today we got a Gen Z from Wilmington, Delaware.
Okay, y'all East Coast be rapping for sure. The East Coast be rapping. I
appreciate that. East Coast represent. So he says, "Hi, I'm a Black Gen Z dude from Wilmington, Delaware. Thank you for doing these segments. It's hard to get career feedback out this biatch." Interesting. Didn't expect to see that. I'm like, okay, Gen Z. All right.
He wrote it out like that?
He wrote it out like that. So, thank you for being yourself, sir.
Yeah, right? Love it.
But he said, anyway, I'm young, so people don't think I know anything in my public relations corporate job. I feel like what I know is more relevant than these old timers because I grew up with social media, which dominates how things are done right now. My question is, how can I help my coworkers see my expertise without making them feel like I'm just a young guy trying to show them up? All right. So young Gen Zer, Wilmington, East Coast, he's public relations. He feel like he has a better pulse on what's going on because of how he came up. Social media is dominating. He wants to show the old timers like us a little something, but doesn't want to seem like he's showing them up. Stu, what advice would you give him?
My first piece of advice, I would tell him, slow down, man.
Slow down.
Relax. Just first piece. Hey, brother, listen. Relax. Take a deep breath and relax. Ease into it. That's what's going to release the tension. The tension right now, because you're pressing an environment that ain't ready to be pressed. So relax, chill out, and just do what you do. Ease, bro. What's your deadline? What's your deadline? Are you trying to make something happen by July, December, 6 months? Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Next year,
like promotion or something.
Yeah, like what you up against. So you have to relax. If you don't feel it, if you like, no, I better do, then you need to probably go demonstrate, go do it on your own first, and then bring the results back and say, hey, this is what I did. I took it upon myself. I took the initiative to do this on behalf of this company, this brand. Let me show you the results and show those results and how they affect the bottom line, right? Those are your two options. Well, really, it's not even your two options. Those are my two pieces of information. Slow down, relax, and ease into it. And if you have to get to the point where you really feel strong enough to want to prove how valuable you are, then go do it, prove it, and bring back the results and show the results. That's my advice to you. But right now, you're going too hard. Relax.
I think that's great advice. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does sound like you got some events that's coming up that you're trying to get recognition for.
Yeah.
So young brother, I don't want you to get devastated if July hit and you don't get what you want. It might not do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They probably see you really need. When people really think you need something, they try to play you. So you gotta relax, like Stu said, and let it come to you. If you know what you're doing, like he said, do your work. You can get on social media and add value. It's a lot of things you can do. People can tap in and they'll see what's up. Give it some time.
That leads me to kind of what that, and I'm doing this intentionally. I'm in this moment. What I'm about to say is all very intentional. That leads me into kind of the image of the pictures that I sent to you this morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
No doubt. Yeah, I do.
So I've been we've been working on some stuff for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And once I learned to relax,
I
can start. And I'm still easing into it because that's an ease into it moment.
Right.
This is an ease into it moment. Yeah. And my name ain't on it, but I'm a part of the process. So I had to relax. I had to slow down. And if you do that, then in time, because I ain't on no clock, other than E-Money trying to retire and never work again. I already know I'm going to be working till I'm 90 years old. I'm going to be cutting deals from the side of the bed where I'm at, so.
You never know. Yeah, I might be the one. You might be the one retired and I'm working.
I just don't mind cutting the deal, but, so, yeah. Relax, homeboy. You, and he is Gen Z?
Gen Z? Yeah, young.
So my question is like, what's your destination and how will you know when you get there?
Yeah,
and what will you do when you get there?
I've been that dude, so I get it. I've alienated a lot of people trying to get to where I'm trying to go, and by any means necessary type thing. So please, it's not the way to go. But good that you're ambitious, though. I mean, some people, man, they don't even they don't want anything specifically. So they don't ever achieve very much. So I think it's good that you want something. But what I would have liked for you to do is lead with what you really want. You don't really want to show your coworker something. You're trying to get to a bag or a title or something.
Yeah.
Keep it real with yourself, man. What are you really trying to get to?
You want to be the leader of the organization. You want to be the boss. You want to better pay them. You want to tell people what to do. That's what you really want. So if that's it. And how soon? What's your deadline for getting there? Because if you don't have it by the top of next year, is that your deadline? And then you're moving on to the next. So that's super important. This is a good one, man. This actually is a really good one. Yeah, this is a good segment, man.
We need to start chopping these up where we have a clip just for characters in corporate. I think it's important. You know what I mean?
Maybe they could submit
get straight to it.
Yeah, maybe they could submit their video question. We could show.
Oh, that'd be dope too. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, we'll get to that, no doubt.
Right.
Tales from the startup too. It'd be a nice video. We could play the clip in the episode.
Let us be the example. We're easing into our destination, and we actually do have a deadline. I think we have a general. We'll go back and refine it, but we have a destination that we're easing into, little brother. So
yeah. And yeah, to that point, Stu. Yeah, with the podcast, we have had to say slow down a couple of times to ourselves. Like, just do the work. If the work is good, you get everything you need. Just do the work. Don't try to do everything at once. So we to Stu's point, we've taken this advice even with this show. We're in season 5. You know what I mean? And season 1, it's like, chill. Just do a good show. Do a good show. Now we're more calm. Even before the show starts, it's like, we're telling each other, get the energy up. We're so laid back. We used to be. So it's just how it plays out. But we're calm. We're following our own advice. All right.
Yeah.
So good. That was a good one.
Yeah, great, good one. We can't do an episode without acknowledging E-Money's wardrobe spotlight. So for all of you all who you may not know, E-Money be on it. He coming here not to play every week. He's rarely dressed. I've only seen like maybe less than a handful of episodes where he's been this casual. But let me identify. E-Money is rocking. This is a classic event. A champion hoodie. The throwback 1991 era champion hoodie. And that's embroidered in there, I'm sure.
Indeed.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. That's the embroidery joint hoodie. Yeah. And the Chicago Bulls Scully in MSG colors.
Got to do it, brother. I was born in Cook County. Born in Cook County Hospital, 1973. Cook County. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man.
I appreciate it. Hey, you know what, man? Today I was like, because we had the pastor, I was about to put the suit on and all that. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just chill, man. I'm going to just wear something comfortable, represent the shy colors, and just relax. So it was good, man. I kind of like that. And you used to do that. You dressing up now. We switched.
Well, I'm finding the zone. I'm in the zone. I like where I'm at with I'm trying to find how I'm gonna rock the rest of this year. And I'm leaning towards this kind of style for the rest of the year. Even in the summer, I want to come kind of not dressed up, but like, man, I'm 51, bro. Yeah, I'm in here. Yeah, I'm in here.
51.
I just had a B-Day.
Oh, I thought you just turned 50, man.
Last year. Last year I turned was the big 50.
Okay, the big homie.
But let me say, it's something that I did take away since we're talking about fashion and style. Something heavy that I took away from Stephen J's fashion style. And he is a go-to of my, he's one of my go-tos for fashion and style as well. He is. All right, that's real talk. But it's something that I took away from his wardrobe that I do not have in my wardrobe that I am going to be adding immensely into my wardrobe. Do you know what that one thing is?
I'm trying to think about that, brother. Is it the V-neck sweater?
So no, I got one. Okay. It's not the sweater itself. I don't have any color in my wardrobe.
You want to spice it up?
I don't have any color. Right. I don't have any bright color. I don't have anything yellow. You know, I don't have any bright colors.
I've never seen you in any bright colors either.
I don't have any bright colors. And I was honestly, there's a part of me like, how is he pulling this off? Because I don't think I could ever. I'm big. So me in the yellow shirt is like seeing, and I don't know if that's perceived. I'm Big Bird. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you gotta be careful,
but I want to add some color. His color of his wardrobe gave it just, I was like, I'm looking, I'm like, man, I'm dark.
I like the green. I told him that. Yeah, that was fly. It was fly. Big Stu about to get his fashionista on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I like to see that, Big Stu. I like to see that some red, orange, or something like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't have that. I don't even have anything other than a white dress shirt. I don't have any like white tops. I was out this week and I thought about, there was a white crew neck that was beautiful. And I was just like, man, that's only like 2 wears before I can't wear it no more though. Because it's white. After that first rip, it's over now. That's why I didn't buy it. I was like, that's 2 wears. That's two wears before 2-3 wears before it's over.
Yeah, I make that mistake with kicks a lot of times. Like I love white sneakers, man. Love them. But you know, they're gonna get dirty after 3 or 4 times. So it is what it is. I just like them. I don't like black kicks like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hear you, man. Spice it on up. Let us see what you got going on.
I'm gonna bring something for you.
So who we got for the pool artist listen today?
Oh man, we have a brand new artist on Pool, which is super exciting. By the way, our URL, we're still Pool, poolofmusic.com. Poolofmusic.com.
We got an event coming up, right?
Yeah. Actually, our first, let's talk about that for a second. We have just a few minutes. Our first poolofmusic.com. Pool is having their first annual, and you're part of it. We're having hosting our first ever virtual artist feedback session, listening feedback session. So it's a behind the scenes. We have an amazing DJ producer, Jeff the Illest, is dropping a new project with a new artist. And he wants to get feedback from some people that will help him decide what to do. And we at Pool, because he's a part of our community of artists, we've assembled and are assembling in this moment a dynamic panel of industry insiders that will listen to Jeff the Illus's music and have raw, unadulterated conversation and give him feedback about his music before he releases it. Now, here's the kick. He can't respond to any of their conversations about his music. He can't respond. Play a little bit, and if they play 20, 30 seconds, and then if they say they want to hear more, then you play more. He can't talk until the very end. It's only an hour event. He's going to play like 3 to 5 songs. And look, the panelists, Mr. Robert Vaughn, an old Motown music guy who's still in the business today. We just secured a guest who's been on our show. You've introduced me to him. Mm-hmm. Filthy Rockwell.
Grammy Award winner.
Grammy Award winner. Filthy Rockwell, music producer. I'm talking to DJ Lays from MOP today. He's a producer, DJ, and seeing if he could get on. And we've got a couple of other great surprises that may be on this panel that we're working on. So that's next week.
You know what I thought about? Another guest we had, brother from DC. Remember Black History?
Black History, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He'd be dope to have in that too if he's available.
We're gonna reach out to him. You opened that rabbit hole, man. That was 2 minutes.
What's the date of that though? Again, because I'm looking forward to that.
Saturday, February 19th, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. You know, by the time most people see this, y'all will have to catch the replay. But if you're live and you hear it now, you hear it today, that's what's happening.
All right, bet. Before you play this real quick, I want to make sure everybody knows our season finale for season 5 is week after next. We are doing a colorism episode. Light skin, dark skin, all of that. We're going to talk about that and get into it and see what that looks like in today's time. I think we talked about in our first season, School Days, which talked a lot about that and other different pieces of cinema. We're going to talk about it in 2022, so tune in for that. Same time, but it's week after next.
Okay. All right. Finale. Season finale, that's the February 26th, so 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So we'll be back here. Those are, if we're trying something new, we're going to introduce. Hey, follow us on the gram, yo. Follow me at Professor Stu, at Mr. Eric _Eric McLeod. Follow us, yo. Check us out. That's what it is.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we have a new artist, brand new. Her name is New. I think I'm saying it right. N-O-U. We're going to listen to a song called Turn On.
Turn On.
Turn. Play Turn. All right, here we go. New. That's not it. Here we go.
You see, I'm loving underneath, looking for good company. Left to all my dignity. You know I'm not too shy, I'm southside. Had to get you out the way. It's goodbye on with my day. Always felt a bit afraid, but I'm too young to die. I know that you will be alright. Always felt the need to feed your fire. If only we weren't who we were, maybe then our love would take a turn. You know I think about you on the days when the sun gets shy and it rains. Probably wanna call you every day, but you know I'm too wise, I won't cry. Had to get you out the way. It's goodbye on.
E-Money, I need to ask you a favor, brother.
Yes, sir.
I know we're up against time, but I need to ask if I can do that over.
Yeah, no doubt.
If I can introduce New over.
Yes,
because she deserves to be introduced this way. She has a music video, and if we're in 2022, so if we're gonna be playing and introducing new music, we need to step into the new times and give them something visual
Great idea.
Here. So
Okay.
I want to take it. And it's beautiful. This artist is exclusive on Pool. This is a brand new artist. New. The song is Turn, and we're gonna go like this. E. Here we go.
Left you on my dignity. You know I'm not too shy, I'm southside. Had to get you out the way. It's goodbye on with my day. Always felt a bit afraid, but I'm too young to die. I know that you will be alright. Always felt the need to feed your fire. If only we weren't who we were. Maybe then our love would take a turn. You know I think about you on the days.
This is new, man. It's on Pool, man. This is where we are in 2022, man.
Yeah, I like you played the video. That's good. So people see what's going on.
Mm-hmm. We have a good mixture of great music on the platform, man. Some great music on Pool. If you all are interested, go on over poolofmusic.com. Check it out. And one of the sponsors. And let's also give a shout out to our other sponsor, hubriswealth.us.
Yes, sir.
The sponsor of this episode, season 5, episode 6, Hubris Wealth. If you need help getting your finances in order for your personal, your life, legacy, or your business, holla at the financial therapist and go over to Hubris Wealth and get your financial affairs and life in order.
Yes, sir. Let's increase that net worth. Let's get that net worth up.
Okay. That's all we got this week, man.
All right.
That's all we got this week,
beautiful
bro.
Episode, brother. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you week after next. And until then, peace.
Until then, brother, it is absolutely peace.
Always felt the need of
Good. It was good. Good combo.
maybe then our love will take a turn.